Hi guys, so welcome back to my channel. This is the Tourist Arts Class. The Tourist Arts Class is an educational channel on YouTube. And what I do is to help students who are preparing for the exams on government and literature. Today we're going to continue with our lessons on government past questions. In my last video, I started treating 2019 government past questions and I stopped at question 7. Okay, so today we're going to continue from question 8. Question 8. The principle of separation of power implies that we have option A, the executive is supreme, B, the executive is powerless, C, power is shared by different but non-coordinate organs in states, D, the rule of law obtains, and D, power is shared by competing departments in the state. Now, first, let's learn what separation of power is. Okay, separation of power simply refers to a division of government's responsibility into distinct branches or different branches. Okay, to limit any branch from exercising the core responsibility of another. Okay, it simply refers to division of power between branches. Okay, division of powers or responsibility between different branches. Okay, that's what separation of power is in a state. Okay, in a state or in a country. So separation of power is all about not concentrating power on a particular body but dividing it into different branches. Okay, where one branch performs a particular responsibility. For example, Nigeria practices separation of power. Okay, and it practices a tripartite government. Okay, what that means is that it has three arms of government. Okay, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. So Nigeria practices separation of power and it uses tripartite methods to practice separation of power. Okay, so that's what separation of power is all about. Now let's look at the question and choose the correct answer. Okay, now option A, the executive is supreme. Of course, this is not the correct answer. Okay, because like I told you guys, it prevents separation of power prevents one branch from performing the core function of another branch. So no one is supreme. Okay. Option B, we have the executive is powerless. Of course, this is not correct. Option C, power is shared by different but coordinate organs. Okay, different by coordinate organs in the state. Of course, this is the correct answer. Powers are shared between different organs, okay, that form the government. This is the correct answer. Option D, rule of law obtains, because separation of power does not ensure rule of law. Okay. Option A, power is shared by competing departments in the state. Okay. Of course, this is not correct, okay, because the essence of separation of power is not for the organs to compete with each other, okay. Now let's move on. Question 9. The term rule of law is applicable only. We have option A in Western type democracies, B in socialist countries, C in developing countries, D in states where laws are supreme, E if the regime is not military. Now let's first understand what rule of law is. Okay, rule of law means no one, including government, is above the law. Rule of law means no one is above the law. Okay, the law protects fundamental rights and justice is accessible to everyone. Okay, so everyone is under the law in a state, okay, or government that practices rule of law. Now let's look at the question and choose the correct answer. Okay, option A in Western type democracies. Okay, this is not the correct answer. Because rule of law does not only apply to Western type democracies. Option B in socialist countries. This is not correct. Rule of law is interested in everybody being governed by the law. Option C, in developing countries, of course, this is not correct. In states where laws are supreme, this is correct. Okay, the term rule of law is applicable only in states or countries where laws are supreme. Okay, so this is the correct answer. Option D, if the regime is not military. Okay, this is not correct. Okay, because that a regime is not military does not mean that there is rule of law. Okay, so option D, like I said, is correct. Now let's move to the next one. Question 10. A presidential system of government is one. Option A, where the head of state possesses real power. B, where the principle of separation of power is inapplicable. Option C, which provides for a ceremonial head of state. D, in which the president is not accountable to anyone. E, in which the parliament cannot remove the president from office before the expiration of his term of office. Now, a presidential system of government is a kind of government where the head of state is elected by the people, okay, and he is the head of the executive. The head of state in a presidential system of government is called the president, okay? Now, the president possesses real powers, okay? Is the head of government of the country with real powers, okay, as the head of state. Now, let's see the options. Option A, we have where the head of state possesses real power. Okay, this is the correct answer. Option B, where the principle of separation of power is inapplicable. This is not correct because in presidential system of government, okay, a separation of power is applicable. Take for example Nigeria, okay? Nigeria practices presidential system of government, and we have executive, the parliament, and the judiciary, okay? Now these three arms of government have they practice separation of power, okay? So this is not correct. Option C, which provides for a ceremonial head of state, okay? Ceremonial head of state is applicable in parliamentary system of government like in the UK, where you have the head of state and you have the PM, that's the prime minister, okay? The prime minister is the head of government. So they have a ceremonial head of state who does not have real powers, okay? Who does not have real powers to implement any law. Option Option D, we have in which the president is not accountable to anyone. Okay, the president in a presidential system of government, the president is accountable to the people. Option E, in which the parliament cannot remove the president from office before the expiration of his term of office. Okay, now in a presidential system of government, the parliament can be involved in removal of the president. Okay, but it doesn't solely depend on them, but they can be involved in the removal of the president based on what is provided in the constitution. Okay, based on what is provided in the constitution. Okay, the parliament can impeach the president based on what is provided in the constitution, but in a parliamentary system of government, the parliament can easily remove the head of state. Okay, that's the difference. So option A, like I said, is the correct answer, where the head of state possesses real power. Okay, now question 11. The decision of the Supreme Court of Nigeria is the decision of the Supreme Court of Nigeria is Option A, subject to appeal. B, subject to judicial review. C, final. D, B and C. E, none of the above. Okay, now the decision of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Supreme Court of Nigeria is the apex court. Okay, is the apex court in Nigeria. So the Supreme Court of Nigeria is the highest court in Nigeria, and their decisions are final. Whatever they decide is final. So option C is the correct answer. Now let's move to the next one. The doctrine of the separation of powers is based on the assumption that option A, those who hold power may encroach on the liberties of the powerless. B, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. C, man is a political animal. D, man has inalienable rights. And E, A and B. Okay, now what exactly is separation of power? Let's start by understanding what separation of power entails. Like I mentioned earlier, separation of power entails division of government responsibility into different branches, okay, to limit one branch from exercising the functions or the responsibilities of the other branches, okay, just like we have it divided in Nigeria between executive and judiciary and the legislatures, okay. Now, the intent um of separation of power is to prevent the concentration of power and provide checks and balance. Is to provide checks and balances in which powers of one branch of government is limited by the powers of another branch to prevent abuses of power and avoid autocracy. Okay, now that's the essence of separation of power. Okay. Now let's look at the options and choose the correct one. Option A, we have those who hold power may encroach on the liberty of the powerless. Okay. Now this is also the reason why we have separation of power to avoid abuse. To avoid abuse. So this is a reason, okay, why there is doctrine of separation of power. Now, option and is the correct answer. Okay, it serves as a correct answer. Option B, we have power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Of course, this also correct. Okay, because when power is concentrated on a particular arm of the government, okay, um it can corrupt that arm of the government and may lead to abuse. So the essence of having the power being divided among different arms is to provide checks and balances, like I said. So this also is a reason, okay, for the doctrine of separation of power. Option C, we have man is a political animal. Okay, this is not the correct answer. Separation of power doesn't really have any relationship with man being a political animal. Option D, we have man has inalienable rights. Okay, now this also is incorrect. It doesn't really have anything to do with separation of powers. We have E, option E, A and B. Of course, this is the correct answer, A and B. A, those who hold power may encroach on the liberty of the powerless. You know that power corrupts, okay, and power can be abused. So when power is not separated and is centrally held, it can lead to the ones that have the power to encroach on the liberties of the other ones, on the ones that do not have the powers, okay. And option B, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is also the reason for the doctrine of separation of power. Okay, so options A and B are correct. Okay, so that makes option E, which says A and B, okay, is the correct option here. So option E is the correct answer. All right, guys, that'll be all for today. Okay, in another video, I'll bring more lessons to you guys. I hope you gained something new from this video. You learned something from this video. Please ensure you subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Click on the like button and also share the video to your friends. Okay, click on the subscribe button to make sure you see my older videos and also get notified each time I upload a new video. Okay, thank you very much for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.